Action. So, in this video, I'm going to describe how I was escaped from a mental health institute. I'm going to talk about the events that lead up to me getting taken there in the first place, and then I'll describe how I got out, which, by the way, I don't recommend running away from a mental health institute. It's just that I had psychosis, so I was very unwell at the time, and I believed that the people there were actually trying to train me to escape, and that's what they were doing, is capturing me so I knew how to escape. And that's all because I had psychosis, so I thought that's what they wanted. So it started with like a year before, when I was asking my landlady to do some work on the house. She said, "Do you have any neurotic problems or something like that?" And I thought that's a bit odd for her to ask that, but I said, "Look, I'll work on whatever it is that you're worried about." I thought that because I'd been worried about asking her to do the work, maybe she kind of picked up on that, and she said that. But I also thought maybe she was just trying to get out of doing the work because she didn't do the work and for a long time, and I thought maybe she was just trying to get out of that. And I didn't have psychosis at the time, so I'm still not too sure about that. And so it started with that, and then like a few months later, she asked me to call a doctor with her and talk about my mental health with them. And I said, "That's fine, I'll do that if you do it as well." But she didn't want to do it. And so I started to think that maybe she had like mental health issues, because she kept on accusing me of having them, and it was just a bit weird. Then I started to develop psychosis, and she called in 2 ladies to come and like assess me, and I spoke with them, and they said that I seemed fine and that I didn't have any mental health issues or anything like that. It was a really quick meeting. We didn't really spend a lot of time together, and then they started asking her if she had mental health issues or something, because I explained to them what had happened. But at this point, I think I had actually started to develop psychosis. I was just kind of hiding it really well, and I didn't realise that I had anything wrong with me, so I didn't think to even mention it to the ladies at all. Then my mental health started to deteriorate a lot, and I started experiencing psychosis a lot more. And one day there were some people at their house who came in, opened the door with a key and came into the house, and I was really afraid, so I double locked the door so they couldn't get in. And then people just kept on coming up to the house, like every couple of weeks, and then like every day. And they came up to the house and were trying to get in, or knocking at the door. And I think because I had the psychosis, I was refusing to speak with them, because I was kind of like afraid to why these people were coming and like accusing me of having mental health problems when I was clearly fine, because at the time I thought I was fine. Then I started to notice that I had like a few issues, like I really wasn't feeling too good, but I still didn't think that I needed to be assessed or anything like that. And then one day I was asleep in my bed and the police broke down the door and a load of police came into my bedroom and I was shouting at them saying, "Get out of my house, you need to leave now." And they were saying, "No, you need to be assessed. There's a lady downstairs and she's going to assess you." So I said, "Well, I don't need assessing, so I'm not going to be assessed." And they said, "You've had like a section put against you or something like that. You need to come into hospital." And I said, "I'm not going anywhere with you." The lady came upstairs and said, "You're going into hospital. Without being assessed, you're going to go to hospital." So I refused, and then they came onto my bed and like grabbed me, and she said, like, "Prepare a bag for your hospital visit." And I said, "No, I'm not preparing a bag because I don't need to go to hospital." So I refused to prepare a bag, and I was still wearing my pajamas. They took me. I asked like one guy to get me some socks and my shoes, and he got me those. And I went into an ambulance, and I started filming the policeman. I filmed them in my room, and I've started filming in the ambulance because they put me in an ambulance, and the lady who was like trying to assess me, she came in the ambulance as well. And I was filming her, and I was saying, like, "What are you doing? I'm getting this on video as evidence." And I started trying to upload the videos to Facebook, but I don't think they managed to upload in time and stuff like that. So I went with them into the hospital. I was filming like the driver, I was filming her. And I've since deleted all the videos because at the Mental Health Institute they don't like us to film anything. So I had to delete everything. I went like with them, and then I went into like this double locking doors. So they lock like one set of doors behind me and then the next door. And then they put me in this corridor and they said, wait here. Someone will assess you." So I was standing in the corridor and I was getting like petrified because there was all these people around doing like crazy things. And there's one lady, she was dancing, and she was like, "Oh, I used to be a dancer," and was just dancing around and stuff like that. And then there was like a load of girls shouting at this kind of glassed off window where there were like nurses sitting inside. And one of the girls was saying, "Give me some weed, sell me some weed, how much?" And she came up and started talking to me, and I just started recording her saying like, "I'm recording you, don't do anything, I'm recording you." And since then we became friends, and she kind of like asked me about if I remembered when I was recording her asking for weed and stuff like that. I'm kind of joked about it. And then one nurse, like, he was a really friendly nurse, he came out and he said, "Look, you need to stop recording. You can't film in her." And another girl walked past and she said, like, "Don't record me." So I was like, "Fine, I won't record you." So I stopped recording. And then I was asking about like being assessed and stuff like that. And I went into like a staff room where there was like a bunch of nurses sitting down, and I said, "I need to be assessed." No one's assessed me, they just brought me in here against my will. And no one really replied because like in that kind of place you don't really get much of a response from anyone unless you like really ask for it. So I didn't get assessed, I was waiting, and I called the police and I said, like, "I've been kidnapped." And then they were like, okay, right, where? And I was like, they've taken me to a mental health institute, and they were just like, yeah, we can't help you. And so I dialed their 999 like a couple of times to try and get out, and that didn't work. So there were people like taking washing and stuff through these double locking doors, and I got through one of the doors, and then I got through the other door when people were walking in and out, and I ran out into the car park, and I ran out like past the main hospital, and I came to a bus stop, and I was like stopped at the bus stop, like, should I get on the bus or should I just run somewhere? And I wasn't too sure. And then some nurses came up, and they grabbed me, and I was like fighting with them, and it was like literally like me trying to run away, and them like dragging me back. And then they like a couple more nurses came, and they just grabbed my like arms and legs, and I was like kicking and fighting back, and I was really proud of myself for fighting like the best I could, because I was like, I'm gonna get out of here, and I have to like try my best. And then I started thinking that they were just training me to like get really good at escaping, because I had the psychosis. I thought that's what was going on. So I was like, they're just doing this, and I was like, you don't have to do this. Like, why are you doing this and stuff? It's your choice to do this to me. And they just ignored me, and they were taking me back in. And then like another girl's feet, I saw her feet join, and I kicked her in the leg. And then afterwards I felt really bad, like once I got to know them, because like they were nice enough people. It's just yeah, I'd kicked her and like a couple of guys, and so I felt really bad about that afterwards. So they took me through this like door into like this little narrow corridor, and I went and sat down on a chair, and as I was sitting on this chair, this guy came out of the room, and I was like, who are you? And he was like, I'm a doctor. And I was like, you're a doctor? No, I'm a doctor. And I was kind of like really deluded, like maybe this has got to do with Doctor Who or something like that. And I was like, well, he can say that he's a doctor, but I can just say that I'm a doctor, and then I can leave this place and do whatever I want. So I was like, I'm the doctor. And I saw he had a lanyard with keys on it, so I grabbed the keys off the lanyard. They like broke off, and I ran back out the corridor that they just brought me through, and I used the key in the lock. The lock worked. I ran outside, and then I just kept on running and running and running. I didn't stop or anything. And then I ran into like this next little village, which had like a town, and I looked behind me, no one was following me or anything like that. So I saw a signpost for like a town near where I lived, but I was like so convinced, like I had the psychosis, I was like, if I go down that way, that's going to be like a trap, and it's going to lead me back to the hospital, so I have to go another way. So I looked at like bus stop, like a bus stop kind of, the routes on it, and I was like, oh, maybe this is like a magic bus kind of route, because all the colours were like really pretty on there. And I was like, I'm just gonna follow the way that like says to that big town near where I lived. And I just started like walking down the road, like the way that bus would come. And I kept walking, and I walked like over a bridge, and it took me like over an hour to get back home, because I didn't have a phone on me, because the nurses, when I had been captured the first time, they took my phone off me. They weren't like confiscating or anything like that. They were just, I think, just taking it because it was going to fall on the floor or something like that. And so I walked all the way home, and then I got back to my house. It was locked, so there was like a window next to the door, which I smashed, and then I got in through there, and I just left the glass on the floor. I didn't even clean it up or anything like that. And then I put like a board of wood against the door where the glass was. And then I went onto my laptop and I contacted my grandparents and like said like some people tried to take me away, but I've managed to get out and I'm back home. And then I contacted like a couple of other people just to say like people tried to take me away. And then I contacted my friend and I said to her like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And at the time I started to believe that it was her mum who was my landlady, just because they look a tiny bit similar. I was like, that's her mum, and she's like training me as well for something, because I kept thinking that people were like just doing this to teach me a lesson. And I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? She was like, what's wrong? And I was like, what, you're so fucked up, and since then, like I've explained to her that I had psychosis, and she said, look, I didn't take anything personally. I just thought maybe something was wrong with you or something like that. And she's been really cool about it, which is really nice when like people are understanding and stuff. When I've had to like explain to them, look, I'm really sorry, I had psychosis, I said some weird things. So I went upstairs, I had a shower and stuff like that, and then I came back downstairs, and then that's where I got like a knock on the door, and it was the police. And I'll save that for another video, how I got taken back into hospital. But yeah, that's how I escaped. And I really don't recommend running away from institutes. It makes things even more traumatic because you have to get brought back in. And I did end up staying back in there, and I was in there for 2 months. So I was in there for quite a while. And yeah, hopefully this wasn't traumatic to listen to or anything like that. And again, don't try and escape from the hospital, because they're like there to help you, not to hurt you. But it's just that I believed that they were there to hurt me, because I've watched like loads of movies and stuff like that about mental health institutes and like how they just want to drug you up and they want to like keep you there against your will and stuff like that, which really isn't the case. So hopefully like people can get a bit more informed about this, so like if it ever happens to anyone, they're not so traumatized. Because I think like in the olden days it was like we're gonna lock you up and we're not gonna let you out kind of thing. But nowadays mental health institutes are not like that at all. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. I'll upload a video of like what happened when the police arrived at my house. And don't forget to comment or like the video and subscribe if you want to for more videos.